Let's talk about what we're going to do this time around, because this time we are talking about installing the solar panels on the shed. So I'm going to take you through my thought pattern here. The panels mount behind this vertically, right down here. So what I'm thinking about doing is running some kind of wood all the way around the top of the solar shed on the inside here. Now, the only thing I've got to consider is around in this area, this is not a whole lot of room to work with. So I'll have to figure something out there. And I'm not going to be able to change this much, but I might be able to disconnect it and slide it down and work around it somehow. Or even just break the wood on each side and have it come up to this side and have it come up to this side and just end and leave that piece undone. But then it could go all the way back down to this end. So it needs to go all the way around the top so that we can handle the outside. We had a ton of rain here a little while ago, so the sun just came back out. So let me just take you around this is about where that wood would go that we talked about on the inside of the shed here. So I'm thinking if I put a brace or maybe a piece of wood out here also, that some of these can mount based on these clips here. Now, I do have one problem I have to deal with. When I put the additional panels, first set of panels up, I only had enough clips to mount the top and to put 2 clips on the ones on the bottom. The bottom of these don't actually have clips on them. And so I didn't have any extras to put on these panels on here at the end. So you'll notice here, these are black clips. So I think what I'm going to do is have to take this one and the third one on the far side of the shed and move them back here so that these 2 panels are mounted at the same place. Now, the question becomes, is if I put a big enough piece of wood out here for this, can I make these fold out based on hinges? And I don't really know the answer to that yet. If I would be able to do it to get them to kind of sit like they do like this. It does generate between 1 and 1.5 extra kilowatt hours of energy every day with them being tilted like this here. So it's a benefit. It's not huge. It's not like the panels that are mounted up here where we get tons and tons of power. So these down here get a lot less power. So I'm not sure there's anything I can really do about that. So what I'm going to do is see, and I have to worry about this section here where I have these glands already mounted that were behind that solar panel. But I think I still have enough room up here for a 2x4. Maybe I'll get a tape measure and measure it. Either way, you see the challenge when we get there. You can see where the screw holes are here. So I think out here, the same as I had in there where those glands were, it just dawned on me what I need to do. This lines up with the screw holes, meaning this is where that mount would be for that support that's in there. And then we will have to go around that piece of wood that's in there. That will allow us to get some tilt on these panels and work with that. So, as you can hear, the neighbor's dog is fearlessly coming after me. Let's see if I can catch him. My viewers have heard you many times. You should say hello. Have a good day, Red. A little trip to Home Depot and a little bit of traffic for a Friday night at 7 o'clock. Now, the idea is to come here and figure out what kind of wood we need to go around the inside of that. I'm a little worried that the weight of the panels is too much to be supported by the aluminum frame of the shed, and that I might just mount them back the way they were, considering the savings was not that dramatic. Now I still need something to hold them on across the top, but the idea of putting them on hinges, once I put the wood around the top and get it all screwed on, then I think what I can do is just attach them for now, and then possibly look at doing something extra later for hinging some of them, and just to try it out and see how much of an impact I can make. Maybe do some of the, like the 2 panels on the back, or the panels on the sides, or I don't know, something like that. None of them have good exposure throughout the day with the buildings in the way is the problem. The ones on the south side, the 2 panels on the back of the shed, which are on the south side, they have a good exposure during the winter. So I don't know how much though. I don't remember paying that close attention last December, January, of how much exposure there was. I know there was more, because I remember thinking how dramatically the sun moved across. Being here in Central Florida, it moved quite a bit further north in the morning, and so that could impact what I think about it. And maybe I'll just wait until that time of the year comes around. The nice thing about the weather here is that it's actually nicer in December and January than it is the rest of the year, as we don't really have any of the heat that you would have, or the cold that you have everywhere else. So either way, that's the idea. We'll see inside at the wood selection. You know, one thing I forgot that I do need is a tube of good weather protectant clear caulk, in order to make sure that I don't want to use white. I would like clear. Here we go. Silicone advanced, 100% waterproof. That's what we want right there. This will help us secure the screws that we put in those sides, and just kind of overall keep it from leaking. I did all that work to get it to stop leaking. I don't want to do any damage on it. So now it's quite slow here because it rained like heck earlier. So I'll take you down there to the wood, and we'll see what we have as an option there. See what we can do.
Come back down this road.
All right. So really, we've got a few choices here. I can go with something like this with a 1x4. I don't like doing that because they're not quite as wide, but they do accomplish the goal of I think $6, $7 a board. And we only need a few, so that's not too much of a big deal. And they do have the larger ones where we could get the 10-footers, $12 a board. It's crazy. Or we could just go with a straight 2x4. I might just go over there and take a look at that too, and just see what that's going to run. This wood is a little bit well priced for what I want to use it for. So let's try the 2x4 out. All right, so here, it'd be nice to use some of the weather treated stuff that comes from the fence. The price is really good, but 2x4s are always a good option. They do have the 8-footers. We do need a couple of 10-footers for the outside. So that would take care of that. I'm wondering if I could get, let's just look around a little bit and see what options we have here. some runner boards, and those are too small for sure. All their pressure treated stuff, and these are big 2x6s, 2x8s, 2x10s, 2x12s. And they are getting a little smaller here, but not really going to meet our needs. So let's go back over here. Look more like the fencing wood was probably the best price, but I'm not sure it's the best option. Not really what we need. What we need is something. Well, those might work. Those are good and thick. They would work on the inside and the out. I don't think they have them long enough that I need 10 footage. So now I do have to split that though. I didn't even think about that. So I have to split that on the inside and the out. So I could do that with basically I could probably do that and split it because I've got that the beam where the wires go in. Those things, that's what we need to do. So maybe those are the best thing. These are pine dog-eared pickets. Doesn't look like they're treated in any way. They do look a little treated though. It's hard to say if they're just dusty and dirty or if they're actually treated. The other option is to go with premium, just premium white wood, just some studs, and put a 2x4 stud on the inside and outside. That definitely would have the strength that we're looking for, but I'm not sure that it's going to give us any better of a solution. The problem with that is they're so thick. And I don't know that I need the thickness. Now, it would allow me to put some good screws through them, though. So that's an interesting idea. So I can attach them well with the screws. Let's go down here and see what else we have as an option, if anything. Got some fencing post, but there's not slats or anything. There's some wood back here buried behind this delivery. I don't know if this is going to help us any at all. No, these are just some more, some of the premium pine 2x6s, 2x8s, 2x10s, that kind of stuff. So that won't do us any good. All right, so that is really our option. Now the other option we have, let's just walk around there and just to be sure we checked everything. So let's see if there's anything here. Oh, this we already checked. The prices on those were ridiculous. So that won't work either. It ain't going to gain us anything except a higher price. And we really don't know how long that shed's going to be there or how long we're going to live there. So this is kind of just a fun project. But it does need to withstand some winds and stuff. 260 foot, a long foot. Yeah, I don't think we'll be doing that. It is popular though. Not just regular wood. That's some nice wood. All right. So I guess the fence posts are the answers. See if I can find us a cart. Got a few of them. All right. So now let's determine how many pieces we need. The back of the shed is 8 foot. The sides are 10. The sides are definitely going to need 2 pieces each. So we'll take 2 for the front, or 2 for the east, 2 for the west. Oh, what we got to do inside and outside, don't we? Huh. Yeah, we certainly do. And we have to have something to attach them to. So 2 more. And 2 more. And then I'm going to assume after I cut these, that is really, really dirty. I'm going to assume after I cut these, there's going to be plenty of length left. Yeah, the question is, do I want to do that? Those panels are 30 and 60, 60, 72, 6 feet. These are 6 feet. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be long enough is the problem. If not, I'll have to find a way to use some scraps to piece them together. So 2 for the south side. And so 2 for the south side, inside and outside for the south side, and 4 for the west, and 4 for the east. And we'll just screw the outside piece to the inside piece, and then use this as a mount. And then that can mount, then the screw for the solar panel can go all the way through the inside and the outside and the shed. Okay. This always seems to happen when you come to Home Depot. As you walk into the store, you realize, oh, I forgot this, and oh, I need that. So now we're going to look at some fasteners or some screws to put those boards together. Now, it goes through that aluminum pretty easy, and I like these ones with the big heads on them. But I need them long enough to go through both sides of the wood. And I don't want the self-setters, self-set. Those are too long. 1 inch. I don't think those are long enough with the shed. Adding to it. We need to go 1 inch, 1 5/8. That could do it. I don't think it needs to be 2 inches. I think 1 5/8 should be enough. So what I'm thinking is we've got 2 pieces of wood and a third piece, which is the equivalent of the shed. So if we do it that way, I don't think it's going to be long enough. So I think that shed, the ridge on the shed is going to push this out and take the space of another piece of wood. So these need to be thick enough to go. I'm thinking we go to 2 inches. And that would give us enough to do all 3. If they stick out a tiny bit on the back side, I think I'm okay with that. I would rather have that than them not hold. I really don't think anything else. Look around a little bit more. I don't think I want to do anything else. I think these will work just fine for me. So, all right. So we're going to try the 2 inchers. If they're too long, I can hear 100 people telling me I told you so. Back to the reckless driving of the cart. All right, we're loaded up, ready to go home. Here we go. That was a pretty eventless trip. Easy pickup of supplies. Now we head back home. It's still Friday night. I mean, it's not going to get done tonight, but especially with the way the mosquitoes have been lately, woo, they are killer with all this rain and this heat. They get hungry and they just want to take you all out. So the idea here again is to go around the top with wood. Now we have kind of a conflict here. We have to make up our mind whether we're going to go with hinged or whether we're going to go with attached. And I think I'm just going to go with attached because I know I'll be able to get that done. I don't know if you're aware of it, but I actually am heading out of town Monday morning to Atlanta for Dragon Con. And I already have Solar Video 2 posted for the members. So if you're a member, you have probably already seen it before everyone else, because I always try to release everything as early as possible for the members to watch. All levels of membership get it. I do post an occasional picture and things like that for the second tier, and then the third tier gets a short here and there that basically explains what's going on, usually things about behind the scenes and that kind of stuff. And then of course those members and all of my members are helping to some degree with paying for some of the stuff that I build, and thank you for that. That it does help out, believe it or not. There's still a lot of little things like this that cost money: the wood, the screws, that kind of stuff. And so it does help pay for some of that stuff, and I appreciate all of my members. You guys are wonderful. I don't know how many of you are familiar with our Sunday solar live streams. We do a live stream, or I do a live stream with the help of a camera crew on Sunday every week. They come in and set up quite a hoop-de-doo for me. If you're in the Merritt Island area and looking for someone to help you with live streams or recording and all of that kind of stuff, let me know. I'll be glad to pass along their name. They're fantastic. They're from a local filming school around here, and they're really good. They're very helpful, and they're always willing to stay late. As most of you know, my live streams have a tendency to last for hours once I get started. My live streams are 100% open to questions of any sort, anytime. I look at them as a way to communicate and talk with you guys, and they're more your time than they are mine. So please feel free to show up to any one of them, especially if you're building a system or you're doing something like that. And on that note, if you are looking for equipment, all of the equipment from the list here will be included in the QR code that you see on the screen throughout this video. And there's also, if you're not on the TV watching this and you're just watching it on YouTube, in the comments below, I include a link to a full parts list. I also include a couple of extra sections, one for upgrades that are probably good ideas for things that either could be bigger, like batteries. If you wanted a bigger battery bank, I'll make suggestions on that. And then of course there's other things like the fuse in the first video in the series, and if you've missed that, I'll include a link to that here so that you can follow it. And there's also a link to the second one down below, to the second video in the series. But if you're interested in panels or anything like that, there's links below. I cover all the different products, and I include, in addition to the extra products, I also include some of the tools that I use. So if I used a torque wrench or a torque screwdriver, or if I used a cable clamper or things like that, I'll try to always include those. And if you notice that I missed something, please let me know. I'll be glad to include those. Anyway, we will be home shortly. So today we're going to work on taking this wood down here and getting it mounted up there so we can put these panels up. Now, before I do that though, I'm going to have to disconnect some of these panels, which works out because this one, it has the different brackets on it and it needs to be moved anyway. We will be using 100% solar power from the solar shed today for all equipment, unless I specifically say we aren't. We're going to be using the saw from over here and everything else. So let's start by getting this panel out of here. I'm going to lean that a little bit better. All right. Solar gods are with me today. I was able to take all of those off without a releaser. Don't work that often that way. Usually it's exactly the opposite. Even with a MC4 disconnector, you end up coming up short of being able to get it to work right. We're going to make sure that this saw will start under the power of that inverter. Seems to be just fine. Then we're going to measure this wood and make sure we bought the right stuff. So I'm thinking we basically go from end to end and we just cut off what is not needed for that. Now we need a matching one for inside also. So let's make sure that we get this right. We can mount that across here where those holes are. And as you can see, those holes are up here in that zone right there. So we want to make sure that these go in a similar area there. Later I'll get some help to hold these up while I'll put a screw in a couple of places from the back side to hold these up for the back piece to also clip in. So I need an inside matching piece. So we're going to say this is north, outside facing. And then we're going to take a second one. And this will be the matching one for the inside. And this is north. That ain't north. What am I talking about? It is west. So this is west, inside facing. And we're going to say, yeah, I need this to be back to it. So this is going to be backed to this way. And that means I need to cut right here to match on the inside. And that will give us the matching front piece. And what we will do is say, okay, this goes on the outside, this goes on the inside. That makes this the front. And I'm just going to put an arrow towards the front on both of these. A lot of the times when you cut wood like this, or at least when I cut wood like this, I end up with a bunch of wood all cut up, and then I don't remember where it all went. So I don't want that this time. All right, so that's that. I'll set those there. And then let's repeat for the back side. Up at this height, down to right about here. And this is going to be west, outside, back. And I'm going to put an arrow pointing that way. I'm pretty sure I put west outside front on that one, and I did with an arrow. West outside back with an arrow pointing forward. All right, so then we cut this one. And then we need the matching set. And this is going to be west, inside, back, that pointing forward. Yeah, that's right. And then we just take this piece and put it on top of this piece and just cut it. Not really measuring anything here. We are sizing this directly to the size of the shed so that everything fits, because we don't know where the measurements for those glands went. Those glands went where they were most appropriately fit, or where I drew an imaginary line and popped them through the wall. In hindsight, I probably could have got them closer to the solar over there, but here it was right in the middle. I knew I could feed the top down to it, and this side could feed into it. At that point, there were only two panels, and this front piece was open, and behind it is all the solar equipment was mounted. So that's why it's done that way. All right, so that's that one, and that's that one. Now, let's switch to the other side and do the same thing. We use these for setting equipment on at the coffee shows. They're not great for excessive amounts of weight for long periods of time, but they are good for moving things around quickly and getting them done what you need to get done. So now we start on this side here, and we do the same thing. We just see if we can disconnect these panels. Wow, must be my day. Well, I spoke too soon. Now I need a clip remover. All right, you know what? This has an extension on it. And the extension comes right off, so I'm just going to use it. back in luck. And I'll just put this over here in case I do need it at some point. All right. Now let's look at, same thing's true over here. You can see the screw holes where the panels were set up. These over here drop. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to seal these holes because we're going to put new ones in up here. And we want all of those sealed. Okay, let's get to cutting. The gland on this side doesn't exist in the way. So all I'm going to do is cut off this dogtail on the end so that the wood can just line up with another piece of wood. And then we'll just trim off the extra. So if that goes like that, which is good, that'll leave that end just right here on the edge of this. And we'll take the second one and we'll just line it up with this one. I know you can't see that. We'll take the second one. I'm just going to seam those together over there. Take out this staple. Seam those together on this seam here, which is the important thing. Overlap this one enough to where I can get a good grip on it, but yet it's not sticking off the edge of the shed. So I can get a good grip into this without it sticking off the edge of the shed here. And then we'll cut this one to match. We're going to basically make sure that this doesn't stick out over here any, and it doesn't. It's perfect, but I still have access to each of these grooves to screw it down. All right, that is from the outside. Now let's talk about what we're going to do on the inside over here. So let's just get the two pieces of wood that we need. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to level out one of these ends. Matter of fact, I'm going to level out both of these ends since I have a little extra wood on both of them. Might as well take the good wood. Then, that was probably not a good idea. Because now, this may not be long enough. Actually, you won't believe this, it's exactly the right length. All right, so we leave that one without it cutting it. It'll have the dog ears on the end, but it'll be at the front. I'm not gonna worry about it. And then the other piece, which is that piece there, that's for the back. Do the same thing here. Whoa. And let's cut this end off. All right. So now we have two sandwich pieces. We know that piece goes in the back corner. So we're going to put this at the front, and we're going to call this east, outside. And it goes this way. And this one is going to be east, inside. And that arrow is going to point that way. And I put 3 letters on the other side. Oh yeah, I need the front and the back labeled. Okay, so this is the back, and this is east, inside, front, and this is east, outside, front. All right, that takes care of that. Now, for the back piece, this is where things get tricky. Much more tricky than those panels there. I don't think I have enough wood for this one is my problem. I was expecting those scraps to be longer. So let me move you where you can see what I'm doing. All right. So let's just see what we have for wood over here. And as you can see, that is short. I need a piece to cover that in too. So what I'm thinking might be the right way to do this is I got to make another trip to Home Depot to get another one of these for the inside. But I'm thinking either way, it's not long enough to cover the whole thing. And I don't want the seam here on this piece. What I'm thinking is if I do it this way and cut it off here, then I could just mount that other piece over there and leave the gap here in the middle. And to be honest with you, it's not going to matter, is it? So let's just take from here to here, and this will covers the seam for both of those. Let's take that all the way to here so I get this. And then that leaves me on this end plenty of room to do that. And there'll be a gap in the middle, but it won't be a problem gap. I don't know if you can see me here. I'm going to go over there first before I cut, make sure. All right, so we're going to cut this one at this length. And then we're going to take, and we need both pieces of this because what we're going to do is put the long piece on this side and the short piece on that side and leave a little gap behind this panel right here. So like right here, between the ending of this one and the beginning of that one, there'll be a gap this big. If it bothers me, I'll either get some scraps or I'll go buy another board and fill it in. I honestly don't think I'll even care. All right. So that's that. Now let's cut this one to match exactly the same size. And if that matches, this should match. And it does. And we just want to cut that here. All right. So one of these is the inside. One of these is the outside. I'm just going to take this one and designate it the inside, and put it over here. I'm not even going to bother labeling these, they only fit one way. Put this one over here. And then these, back, front, outside, outside, inside, inside. Let's take these, put them here. And that means the front goes here. And the back goes here. And then that seam here has nothing to do with the clamps of where the panels will go. Everything has solid wood to mount on. And we're going to sandwich the wood on both sides. This gives us 2 pieces of wood to soak through, and it gives me the support of the entire shed along the wall, not just one piece of it. If I still see there's some integrity issues, or if I see there's some integrity issues, then what I can do is I can take those inside beams and put runners across to support them or reinforce them somehow. At this point, I haven't seen that. It worked with just basically back scraps holding those panels on. Something like this was just in the back where the screws went in. And so this was kind of like that. This is going to extend that and make it even stronger. So I don't see that we'll have a problem there. And that should get us ready for the initial piece, which I'm going to put all of these up all the way around the outside with some help and just get some screws from the inside in them to hold them up. And then I will take the inside and screw all the way through to the outside, mashing them together all the way around. And I can do that by myself. And then I can get on to remounting the panels. Then we can switch these 2 out for the ones with the brackets. All right, today is a tough day. We got this one up, but it started raining just as we put the couple of support screws in. So it has 3 support screws from the inside in these ribs, mounting them here. I'm going to take you in there and show you that, and then we're going to mount the backing boards to them also. I'm going to try to open this up. We're going to deal with this rain as best as we can today, because this has to get done because I got to go out of town. All right, so I'm going to set this up here so you can see it. This is the screw that's holding that board on, and there's 3 of them. There's one there, and there's one down right around there. Is hopefully I can put 2 of these in. So this is the one that goes in front, west in front, and the arrow's pointing that way. So that means it needs to go up behind this wiring here, and it should go about like this. And it's a perfect fit. Now, what I don't know is exactly how far from the top that is outside. So what I'm going to do is run out there real quick with a tape measure and figure it out. All right, so out here, you can see, I can tell, I'm going to try to do this without getting in the way of that sun there, that we are about 4 inches from the top. Whoops, sorry, you can't see that. So we're about 4 inches from the top. That includes that aluminum stud that these are screwed into. That angle is really bad, sorry about that. That includes this aluminum stud that these are screwed into. So that stud is there so that we have good support only 4 inches away. So what I want to do is I want to put that 2x4 or that other board behind this exactly 4 inches down minus that stud so that these line up perfectly. And I just want to measure this at a couple of different places and make sure that we are about the same all the way up and down this train. And it looks like we are pretty close either way. All right, So now we go back inside and see if we can screw those in. So here we are back inside, and we know that this aluminum stud here is where this is attached. And I'm pretty sure you can see that stud in this picture. Yes, you can. So it runs, and I can reach my finger over this and feel that aluminum underneath it. So we know it's 4 inches from that is where the one on the outside is posted. So what I'm going to try to do here is just mark that somehow with this Sharpie. That's a good thing. Just mark it here and down at this end. It doesn't have to be precise because we're not going to be putting, there isn't that much. We have plenty of room outside for the screws to go in. So even if it misses by a little bit, as long as you're not going to be able to see it from the inside or the outside. So let's take this now and slide this up to where it is at 4 inches, just like this, level all the way across. Right about there. Let's just try to put one in. Let's go through this one. That worked pretty well. I felt it grip really good on that back side. So we're going to do the same over here. Bring that up to 4 inches. I want one right here at this end. And that tightened that up really good too. All right. So now that we know that works, I'm going to go out to the outside and let's put a few more screws in out there coming back this way, because if it's going to be if they're too long, I don't want them sticking. Oh, and they're not. You can see there, they did not stick out. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and then just put a few more in from in here so that that's held really well. I don't want to take any chances of it coming loose. It's the best support we have is holding into this thing. So we're just going to go across one high and then one low, all the way across like this. And then one more, this far end down here. Oh, actually 2 more. We'll go low here. And then we'll go high on this one here. Yeah, we should be on there really good. And go back out and confirm out here. These should not move, and they have absolutely no movement in them. They're really good held on there now. And they've got the support of that aluminum frame all the way across now. So this whole wall is one giant support frame now, as opposed to it just being attached in little pieces. Wonderful. So now let's redo this again. Only let's do it with the back one. My way through here. And we want this pointing towards the front. And then we want to do 4 inches approximately from the top. Right in that area. And repeat down here. Now, the old screw holes, the old screw holes are right here. And I can see the wood on the other side of them. So that means we do have that covered, as long as this covers that entire And it does. An entire set of screw holes there also. So now, let's do this. Let's get a couple of screws, because we need 2 to get this started. And we'll need a few more after that to finish it up. But let's start with the first 2, one on one end and one on the other, to give it all support to hold it in place. All right. Put that there. Now I'm just going to go dead center here. And I'm going to pull that up and get a second one in at this end. I'm going to go all the way to the end this time. Wow. That left hand is just not as skilled at screwing as the other hand. It pulled that trigger and shot that screw in. All right, we're going to go a little high on this one. And that's better. And then a little low on this one. And even though it rained a few minutes ago, the sun is back out, and it is getting hot in here. I'm going to have to do this in waves today and just take a break after every section. So, high again. Low again. High again. And a little low, but more middle. There we go. That side is done. See you after I cool off. Here's what I have to do. I've got to determine the difference in this bracket and this bracket and mounting that last form back here. Because these look great and they'll fit those solar panels perfectly. As a matter of fact, let's test one of those solar panels and make sure they fit perfectly before we go any further with any of the other ones. So I've got to move these over here anyway. So let's just take these off. There we go. And let's take this one over here. And let's just see where it falls. Haha, look at that. It's perfect. So that will mount right like that. And it's perfectly in the right spot. The nice thing is now it sticks out far enough to be over the lip of this also, which was an issue. It's a little tiny bit more straight up and down, but that's not going to be a big deal with the angles that they're at anyway. So that is great. I'm going to find a screwdriver, and actually I'm just going to lean this down this way for now, and then let's try measuring the other way here. I'm going to get this other one down and out, and let's move it over there also. Just unplug this, and let's just pick this panel up and take it over here. I'm going to try it at this other end. I don't know if you can see me from there. It fits down here perfectly too. So we are all golden on this side. Now let's take a panel with the black brackets, which should be a few inches lower than the ones with the silver brackets. They do mount a little lower. And so that, we'll put that down about right there. So the good news is this will get it up off the shed here too. And I may need to put something down here on the bottom to build it out a little bit, because that might have it may lean a little this way, like this, an exaggerated view of it. And I really wouldn't want that. So I may end up having to put something out here to hold it up. But for now, we know where it needs to be based on this. So let's measure and get that up there how it's supposed to be, where it's supposed to be. And that hole was, oh, I see, right there. Okay, so I am going to mark these screws where these screw holes need to be, and then we can measure down from there. I want to measure it at both sides here. Measure twice, do the work 3 times, or do it once. Set this panel over here now and find us a tape measure and put some marks on there. All right, so we're going to put those screws right smack dab in the middle of this. They were here and here. So if I put it in the middle, do the same measurement as I did before, it is going to be 5 3/4 inch down. So what I'm going to do is mark this now. And mark this one. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same on this side. As you remember, we have this one's in separated wood here. So I'm going to pull this back 5 3/4 to this area right here, and 5 3/4. This is the important one because this is the one where all the screws go in. Right there. All right. Now we're ready to mount these. And then we'll put the screws in the backside. See you in a few. All right, same thing in here. We're going to go in 5 3/4 of the way down. I'm going to put a screw in each side just to hold it. I'll put one here. And that puts the center of it about right here. That come through? Okay. Now at the far end, I'm going to do it again. Okay, now there's a short one for the other side. All right, the one on your right first. And the one on your left. All right, thank you. Now we're going to take these two and attach them on the inside using the same long screws we used before. It's the same thickness, it's just in a different location. So here comes the rain. This time I'm inside though, so I'm okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to 5 3/4 is right about here. So I'm going to put one in right smack dab in the middle here. And then I'm going to remeasure across it and balance it out some if it's needed. Underneath those wires, that's way too much. Oh, yes it is, it's very high. Let's see about this end. All right, so this one is a little bit high. I think I'm going to take it off and put it back in a little higher. because it needs to be 5 3/4, and that's what you get for estimating when you're doing things like this. It should be way up here. All right, no problem. I'm out of the rain. I'm okay. I'll take this out. And I'm going to slide it up. And I'm going to tighten it back down. Now, we're going to remeasure that again and put 2 more support screws in it. 5 3/4. Turn this just a little bit. Get it as close as we can anyway. 5 1/2. 5 1/2. Close enough. So I'm going to put one here. And I'm going to put another one over here. And that should take care of that. Now, let's look at the other side of this. So let's see if we can measure this out again. 5 and I'm going to go 5 1/2. I'm going to go 5 1/2 to somewhat make it level with that one. It shouldn't make a difference outside. And I don't want it to be completely off when you walk in from the shed and look back at it. I grab a couple of extra screws here so we have enough to work with. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 ridges here. So let's just plan on 1 on each. And let's just take this and see if we can put one there. One there for a good start. And then we're going to start going across here. That's up. That's down. That's up. That's down. This one's going to go on the upper side. It's not going to be up. There we go. Now, we're going to go outside. I hear the rain has slowed again. And see if this is going to work. It's nice and wet and messy out here. When it starts raining, I start running. Let's see if I can get this set back where you can see. This is the one that goes to the solar shed system that we've actually built. So I want to get it done first, because if the RV doesn't have a little bit of power, it's fine. It's got some backup plans. This is completely off grid. So it needs to be set up in order to power everything in the solar shed, including the wash machines, which we're going to need to do some laundry before we leave town. That is one. And this is 2. Now, the screws I used on the inside, I'm going to show you this. The screws I used on the inside were longer than the ones I used on the other side. I didn't have any more of those short ones. And these stuck out. Now, the problem I have is this is where the panel is. There's plenty of room in that side, that panel container. And so are both of these. Won't be a problem. But, oh, actually, you know what? Neither will this one. It'll be on the inside there too. Well, we just need to try it. We'll see. They screw in over here, so if those clamps are on the right of this, then we won't have an issue. All right, let me just try it. Otherwise, we're going to have to find some, either a grinding wheel or some good cutters and cut that completely off at that short side, because that screw is buried now in that wood on the inside, underneath the wood on the inside. So let's start by doing this one over here. We've got two wires we need to connect. One has to connect here. So that's an easy one to get hooked up. And I picked the perfect day to do this because there's giant clouds above me, making it cooler, but also there wouldn't have been any solar anyway. So as it turns out, it wasn't the end of the world anyhow. All right, so let's pull that in a little bit, and that fell in place. I felt it fall in place. I think that's just fine. It might work just fine. So now I need a screwdriver, and I can't reach it without putting this back down on the ground because the wind is picking up again. So let's do this. And I don't want to use these screws. These self-setting screws, they're great. These self-setting screws are great when you're going into metal, and a lot of metal, aluminum studs and stuff. But when you're going into wood, you're better off drilling a hole in that clamp on the side over there and then putting a real screw in, because it drills out this wood and then they don't hold. All right. So this is the solar panels on the west part of the roof. So we are going to flip that on, and as you can see, $92. Then on the roof, which is this one here, is 97 volts. All right. The other one, which is this one here, which is the east side, it is at 0.22 volts, which is because we still haven't hooked the panels up. So I'm going to turn these two back on. Those will go back into the RV. And then we're going to take a look at the Victron app for the Solar Shed versions that come directly into this Victron right here, which is, all right. We're going to do a little test, make sure that all three of these strings are lit up. We know the first two we already did, so we're just going to test this third one, which is this east side. And I'll hang this up. I'll set this right here so we can see it. And let's just go through. It's on AC. Let's just switch that to DC. There we go. And it is this string here that we're looking at. And we are at 98 volts. That's good. Now, I wanted to go back and retest this one here. It showed some lower voltage earlier today. I just want to see what the voltage is on this one over here, which is also 88 volts, but that's got a draw on it. This one does not. Okay, it's 99 now, and it's 98. That's good. And if I take the draw off of this one, it is 103. It's still a little higher, but it's the one that faces up. I would expect it to be a little higher. I do want to check the polarity on them all. I wasn't paying that close attention. Positive, 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 positive. All right. Those 3 strings are all back on. The string for the solar shed itself is back on. And so we are going to go over to the outside panels and do a walkthrough of them. I'm going to show you how I finished them up. Here's what we got now. The side over here on the east side that faces the river, I've got an extension cord that still runs behind here. I got to get that out of there, but I can just pull that through from behind them. Now there is enough room behind them now to actually get back there and pull wires and stuff, which is kind of nice. That I never had before, because this little bit of extra up here at the top really makes a difference in getting them in there. These boards are attached on both sides and sandwich the shed and provide the full support of the shed now all the way across. I did overlap these here simply because they needed to be closer together in order for the existing wires that ran from one to another and then back to that gland that was there. This one over here had a long run to get to the gland that's right about there. So I did push them a little closer together to allow it to reach that gland, but they all went in straight for the studs. And then we have the back 2 panels, which we still have the connector up here to connect to that 3rd one on the roof over there. But we don't have it hooked up yet. We may even try doing something where we put 4 on the roof and on their own charger and see what we can get out of that. That might even be better. Here, they are overlapped a little bit in the back, but that is just so that they fit the corners here really nice and stay on the wood. And that is true on both sides. They fit the corners about the same and stay on the wood. So, and this side is also attached very well, nice and sturdy now with, as you can see, a couple of screws down at the bottom that just get in the way of the panel coming out. The bottom's not really the problem where it comes out, but I like it sitting on that runner board there that is attached to the shed foundation. That one's actually the shed foundation. These on the side have runner boards attached to them where the panels sit on to support their weight. These last panels were added, these 2 front panels. So you'll see there's just a runner board extension there that allows all the cables for going in and out of the shed to still exist. Although today, with the solar shed truly not just providing power to the RV, oh, I missed one here. Then I missed this whole side, the second set of screws. Now this side is just, is truly independent, then it probably doesn't need all those glands going in and out over there. Now we're going to go through here and see what we can do about sealing this up and take care of that. Other than that though, the panels are on. The roof panels, as you can see here, they just need some caulk to screw them, to hold them in. They're basically set up in there, and I'm having a hard time seeing my phone when I raise it up like this. As you can see, those panels are set there. They just sit up on the top and then they screw into the frame, the same aluminum frame that we measured from under here when we were putting these screw directly into. So here they're screwed directly into the frame. Up there they're just screwed into a light mount on the inside. Nothing major. Hopefully that's good enough. Same thing on this side. And we did go back in a previous video and seal all the underneath this, took all this off and sealed all the holes in this. So now we're going to take some caulk and we're going to seal all of these remaining holes here and get rid of all of that leaking and everything there. I don't know if anything from behind here, behind this board where these screws go through, will actually leak on the inside. I do know that this is making it into the shed from here. So what I might do is pop this panel off before I'm done here and just run a bead of caulk down the edge of this. Keep that water from getting inside. That should be enough to stop it. But I don't think I can do it today because it's still wet. So I may have to wait until I get back to do that. And in that note, I'm going to leave these undone. And we will do that when I get back and seal that up so that can not leak. Other than that, I think we're done. Everything's working again. Everything's attached. To sum it up, we basically sandwiched on the shed 2 pieces of wood, screwed the panels into the wood, attached them to a mounting rail at the bottom. We run 3 parallel on this side. That cable runs to that extra panel. That's going to be part of that backward series for this when we finish the solar shed. And same thing's true here and over here. The 4 panels just sit on the roof and are bolted into the frame. So it's pretty straightforward. In summary, I feel much better about it. Everything should be working just fine.